Good afternoon and welcome to my workshop. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of maintenance on my Douglas Shaper. Douglas Shapers are Australian made. They were made for the educational market and they turn up for sale reasonably often, and this is the one that I purchased. Once I got it, I had to do some maintenance on it. The machine was originally made in 1958 and I had to do some work on the ball gear. But I've done that. There's a couple of items remaining. One of the remaining items is to make a better tapered pin for the horizontal feed drive. So I'll just get in and show you that. Here we go. And you can see where we need to put the pin through. So it's a tapered pin, and I've been machining one in my workshop today. So I've been trying to be a bit analytical and calculate out the angle that I need to produce, but I had a beginner's mistake in my calculation and worked out double the angle rather than the actual angle. The actual angle is about 1.3 degrees, but that's okay. So I've been working on producing the tapered pin in my CQ2630A lathe, which is a very common Chinese lathe, I think made by Luzong. And the first tapered pin I made had a very rough finish on it, and I found that changing the 3-jaw chuck over to a collet chuck improved the surface finish a lot. And the other thing which was very helpful was to swap from the carbide insert to a high-speed steel lathe bit, and that's giving a much better surface finish. So I've just finished cutting this pin. I've been doing it. I gave up on using the surface gauge, the dial indicator. That's what it's called. I had problems using the dial indicator, so I'm just doing it trial and error. So I've been working on producing the tapered pin in my CQ2630A lathe, which is a very common Chinese lathe, I think made by Luzong. And the first tapered pin I made had a very rough finish on it, and I found that changing the 3-jaw chuck over to a collet chuck improved the surface finish a lot. And the other thing which was very helpful was to swap from the carbide insert to a high-speed steel lathe bit, and that's giving a much better surface finish. So I've just finished cutting this pin. I've been doing it. I gave up on using the surface gauge, the dial indicator. That's what it's called. I had problems using the dial indicator, so I'm just doing it trial and error. The other thing which is rather handy is having a Cincinnati No. 2 tool and cutter grinder, which means when the high-speed steel lathe tool goes blunt, it's quite simple for me to resharpen it. And you can see here I've been doing some sharpening of chisels and plane blades as well. So now I'm going to cut off the latest pin and see how well it performs. So this is the horizontal bandsaw that I purchased, I think it was last Christmas, and I quite like this saw because I can make accurate cuts on small things, and I find that to be very handy. So here you can see the insides of the Douglas Shaper, and you can see the repairs that I've made to the bull gear, and that was actually quite a lot of work. And once I completed that work and hooked everything back up, there was a terrible noise coming from the gears of the machine, and I was a little bit concerned that, oh no, I've wrecked it. But the friend who helps me suggested that I run a folded strip of paper through the pinion gear and the bull gear, through the teeth of those two gears. And when I did that, turned it over by hand, I found that the sheet of paper, the folded piece of paper, was cut in a number of places, which indicated that there was too little clearance between the pinion gear and the bull gear. So here you can see the bolts that are holding the bull gear bearing in place, and there's a little bit of wriggle room there. So what I did was I loosened those bolts off, and I fed a sheet of paper folded 5 times between the bull gear and the pinion gear, and this increased the spacing between the two gears. And then I did those bolts up on the bearing nice and tight, and after that the gear noise went away and the machine is running really nice and quiet. So here we have the Douglas Shaper running. There's a slight rattle from the guard, which stops people from putting their fingers into the belt. But apart from that, it's running very quietly. The other noise which you might be hearing at the moment is the sound of the phase change converter, which is driving the Douglas Shaper. So I've still got the original 3-phase motor installed here. I think that 3-phase motor was manufactured around 1958, and yeah, the machine is running well. In fact, it's running better than it was when I first received it, which is quite a good thing.